Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. 18 months after the passing of her first son, Botham Jean, at the hands of a former Dallas police officer in the United States, Alison Jean is having anxiety over the decision of her younger son to enroll in the same college as Botham. Jean says she has obvious concerns. However, she hopes that this time around, her family will be spared any tragedy.
Alison Jean's world was turned upside down with grief that no parent should have to face when her 26-year-old son, Botham Jean, was killed at the hands of former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger. The incident took place on the night of September 6, 2018, while Jean, a Harding University student, was inside his own apartment watching television. Guyger claimed that it was a case of mistaken apartment, as she thought Jean was an intruder in her own apartment, which was directly under Jean's on the floor below. Fast forward to the year 2020, and Jean watched her youngest son, 19-year-old Brant Jean, attend the same university as his older sibling. On Monday, she sat with Hot 7 News to express her feelings on the decision.
Well, given the limitations we have with tertiary education in St. Lucia, it's inevitable that children who want to pursue careers would have to go outside of St. Lucia. So we weighed a number of options. The option of the Caribbean, the option of the United States. We didn't go as far as Europe, but it was the United States and the Caribbean. I'll tell you, given the way in which Botham died, I don't know that we can ever safeguard ourselves no matter where we are. So I had to face the dilemma of keeping him here in St. Lucia under my wings or letting him go. And the option of letting him go was easy.
Jean said she prays for her son's protection. She said he too is aware of her anxiety, and so he makes it his duty to keep her mind at ease by contacting her almost daily. Jean said, on the other hand, she believes that her eldest son has forged a path that has left her with a feeling of assurance that her youngest will be just fine.
It's based on the networks that Botham created while he was there. I believe that he's surrounded by a number of people who look out for him and who love him.
In the U.S., it has now become the norm for black families to have the talk with their children. However, this all-important talk is not about the birds and the bees, but rather it is about surviving whilst black in the United States. Jean said she has not had the talk as yet with her young son, but she will in time.
Having the talk seems so scary that sometimes, you just have this, try to put it behind you. But I believe Brant's own experience, having gone through what Botham went through, is fully aware of what's happening around him. Ironically, Botham attended Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas. Searcy is a predominantly white town. Similarly, Brant is in that same white town. And I'm not sure that he experienced the level of racism that he did in a small town like this, that he did in Dallas. So I think gradually we will open up and we will, the discussion will come off. But for now, I'm just letting him be, let him scope his environment, let him see what's going on there, and ensuring that he protects himself from these things.
The youngest of the Jeans is on a 4-year program pursuing a degree in civil engineering. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
Coordinator of Guidance Counseling within the Ministry of Education, Joycelyn Eugene, is speaking out on the reported increase in teenage runaways on island. Eugene urges troubled teens to seek aid from counselors who have been made available in schools. However, she laments the limitations of school counselors to impact circumstances beyond school grounds.
The ongoing issue of teenage runaways has raised the question of the capabilities of the school environment to address the issue. School counselors are faced with several limitations when addressing such issues. The jurisdiction of a school counselor does not extend to the home or the community, and as such, Coordinator of Guidance Counseling within the Ministry of Education, Joycelyn Eugene, reports that there is little which can be done to intervene in runaway situations. However, she underscored that with parental cooperation, counselors work closely with social workers to provide aid to troubled students.
The counselor really does not have jurisdiction outside of their school to function in terms of counseling and those services when it comes to students. In a lot of instances, when it comes to homes, that's the work and the role and the purview of a social worker. School counselors do not go into homes. However, if we can bring the parent in, if we can bring members of the family to kind of get an understanding of what is going on, and if we can guide them as to how they can help make the relationships at home better, then that's what we would do. And when it comes to the children, of course, we try to encourage them to speak to their parents, to share what's going on with them. They have their peers, maybe their close friends, that they would give them support, and of course, continued access to the counseling services within the school.
However, according to Eugene, there are several protocols in place at the nation's secondary schools to identify and mitigate potential runaway situations once identified in the early stages.
The running away comes usually as a response. Maybe sometimes the children get into an argument, they make a decision, they run away. But if they come back home and they resume school, then they would have to come back in and probably get the service of the counselor.
She urges parents to be understanding of this radical behavior, which is often experienced when raising an adolescent. She says this is not an uncommon trend for the age group. For 7 News, I am Jacka Wooding.
Thank you, Jacka. Former Sergeant of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force Traffic Department and Public Relations Officer of the Easy Cruisers Riding Club, Leontius Joseph, is calling on transport authorities to keep motorcyclists in mind when designing the nation's roads. Joseph says several materials used to construct road markings and functional sites spell disaster for two-wheel motor vehicles.
Motorcycle riders are in a unique position on roads. Due to the nature of their vehicles, they are exposed to a variety of dangers not met by automobile drivers. As the least stable and least visible motorized vehicles on the roads, their troubles are further heightened when traversing roads not conducive to safe cycling regulations. According to Public Relations Officer of the Easy Cruisers Riding Club, Leontius Joseph, the John Compton Highway is one of these roads and is a danger zone for motorcycle riders. Joseph highlights the use of slippery materials to create road markings and calls on transport officials to investigate the presence of this material in accident hotspots.
I want to implore the authorities in that regard. I think that there is need for motorcyclists to be taken into consideration. We have, for example, the markings on the road. The markings on the road, when this white things they use to mark the road, the arrows, and that in itself, when this is wet, this is very slippery. So people need to understand that with a four-wheel vehicle, yes, you pass on that, it's wet, it may not cause a danger for you. But with the cyclist, you only have 2 wheels. And that is something that has to be taken into consideration. The material they use to mark those roads has to be taken into consideration.
He also cited the non-systematic positioning of metal and concrete manholes as a grave danger to motorcyclists.
The manholes, the covering of the manholes, that metal plate on our roads, this is very risky. We have had instances where persons have fallen off their motorcycles going through this manholes, because this metal thing, once it's wet, it's very slippery. And you have them around corners, for example, the shock roundabout, and hitting that going around the corner, once your front tire touches this thing, that's because it doesn't take much to lose control on a two-wheel vehicle.
Joseph urges the motoring public to acknowledge the external difficulties faced by motorcyclists and to be considerate of their safety. For Hot 7 News, I am Jacka Wooding.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more coming up after the break.